Moving on, something that sounds technical but really about customer experience, caching and CDNs. Many business owners hear these terms a lot, and I know Roger brought in and introduced a little bit of it, but they might not understand the business impact of it. So, Matt, pretend I'm a board of director who's not technical at all. Can you explain what caching is and why should they care? And how does it translate to better business results?
Yeah, for a non-technical person, most people in the industry, whether you're technical or not, you're hearing cache all the time, um, and you probably assume that you know what it is. You probably have a good understanding. So think about cache. I'm gonna go with the sandwich analogy that I blew up on Boozy Browsing. I'm gonna probably try it again and probably get it wrong. Maybe I'll put some notes. Think of if you think of cash, it's something that's put all together and given to you. So if you think of it as like a going to the grocery store, and so I have to go to the grocery store. I have to get my lunch meat, my mayo, my mustard, my lettuce rather, tomatoes, like all the things that I want to make a sandwich. Then I got to drive home and I got to put it all together, and I got to put it on my plate, and then I can eat it. Right, like that's uncached. I had to go do all the things, go get it and request and drive across town and come back, and it went really far and everything. That took 30 minutes to do it, right? This is like a blown out explanation. Or I could go to the front of the deli counter and there's these pre-made meals. I still had to go there, but I pick it up and I can eat it right then because it's done. Maybe it's not quite done for me because it's the same sandwich for every single person that's going to get at it, right? So there's no personalization in this sense. Um, but they've done it for me, and they put it all together. So the caching is putting it all together, so it's now quickly deliver, so I could just grab and go, grab and go, grab and go. And that's like if you're ever at a big event and there's like the grab and go sandwiches, right? That's the idea there because it's already all the work was done at one point already for all the things, but you're getting the same thing over and over. There's more complexity around caching because I can now like I could have the mayo and mustard at the end of the counter, and I can add a little bit, right? And that's like a little bit of personalization on like maybe a really performant e-commerce site could have some caching, and then but some of the things that are personalized about the user would be the extra things. And then you can have like the delivery to you because caching and CDNs can actually get you. Roger mentioned it; they can get it close to you. So I don't have to go all the way to the store. I can go outside my door because I ordered it from Uber Eats or whatever, and like it's there and it's done. Um, so I'm not going to go through the tuna versus or the the roast beef versus turkey because I messed that up last time and I would still mess it up. But the personalization hopefully was easy with the mayo and mustard.
Well, actually, that is my next question. It's from development side. What mistakes do you see companies make with their caching strategy, and what's the difference between doing it right versus doing it wrong?
Well, the worst thing you can do is, well, if you mess up your caching strategy as far as like the personalization side, once you try to get into that and you started caching too much and, Mary Jane and Joe Dane, whatever, like, like they're getting the opposite things that they're supposed to. And I've seen email addresses displayed. I've seen credit card information displayed. Not on sites that I've built, but on like forums and things where people are like, why am I seeing this? It's because they cached wrong and they're delivering it to you from someone else, some other user. There's a lot of performance things that go wrong. I mean, for a host, they hope that the developers are doing really well and we're getting like 60 to 80% or maybe 90% of cache delivery, right? Because that's putting less usage on the resources for the web server. And so the better we can do there, right?
For sure.
Roger, you briefly mentioned CDN. CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. But what does that actually mean for business with customers around the world? How does managed hosting make it easier?
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, CDNs have been around for, I mean, over 20 years now in different forms and whatnot. And the basic idea, and I love the sandwich analogy. Nice job with that one, Matt. Another analogy that I've used in the past is water towers. And so, you have water towers spread out around the metro area. And when people go to turn on their faucet, it's the water's coming from a closer location. Also, if there's a surge of need for one particular area, there's multiple water towers that can make up for that need. And so a CDN is kind of the same thing where you've got multiple points of presence or POPs. That's the terminology to kind of get a little technical for people. And you're again, like you pointed out, the hope is that the developers have set up their assets to be as cacheable as possible. You want to avoid obviously caching things like credit cards, and I don't want to see what's in your shopping cart, and you don't want to see what's in my shopping cart. So there's some precautions that need to be taken there. Most of that's pretty solved by this point, though. Unless you start really doing some crazy tweaking on the code base, you should be able to avoid that. But getting back to the CDN, the hope is that we can cache as many of those assets out onto the various points of presence or the edge of the network. So when the user comes to look at it, they're able to pull from those points of presence rather than having to go all the way back to the origin server, putting additional stress on that, causing potential bottlenecks and slowing things down. And again, getting back to the original premise of this whole presentation is we're trying to be as fast as possible. And so however we can speed things up, that's what we want to do. And so caching is really key for that. It plays straight into the CDN strategy. And again, having a managed host set up and manage all of that for you is again one less thing that you as a business owner or even a developer need to be worried about. And so a good managed host has these things in place, has default rules already in there. So, for instance, we're not caching the login page for WordPress. We're not caching the shopping cart by default. You can, of course, go in there and make some modifications, but you want to be careful of all of that. And again, this is where also having a good support comes into place. If you're trying to do some different things and you're maybe having some issues with it, being able to talk with a support person and understand maybe how the host is by default routing caching and how you can kind of play with that, maybe ask them to make some modifications, within reason to really get more performance out of the site. So yeah, CDNs are absolutely critical at this point for websites.
I was going to open up this question for both of you, but I think you answered a lot of it. So if company invest in proper caching and CDN setup, what kind of improvement should they expect to see in their conversion rates and customer satisfaction?
But you talked about the 1 second equates to, I don't know what percent it was anymore, but like you're easily going to shave a second off of the rendering side, no CDN versus adding a CDN. It's just instant. No matter how performant you can make a CMS, it's never going to be as performant as a CDN. Magnitudes can't even measure the impact there, and that's just performance. I think Roger kind of mentioned like when you scale or when you have traffic spikes, it's even bigger because the CMS has to work even harder, and there's people. Then they have requests being basically waiting. CDN doesn't do that. Like it just explodes with however many requests. It just handles it because that's what their architecture is built for static responses. Yeah, the minimal investment, especially when you go with the managed host. I don't know any managed hosts of like WordPress specifically that don't offer CDN at this point. But if you're trying to do it yourself, adding a CDN on top of that is a small portion of your cost that has to be done.
Yeah, and I think building on that, I mean, you hit it right nail on the head, right? It's night and day differences as soon as you engage with a CDN, and also have make sure that your caching is actually working well, right? So if you have video assets, you want to make sure that those are getting cached. Those are massive assets, and having those out on the edge of the network not only is going to make them faster for delivery, but as Matt's pointing out, Black Friday is coming up. When you have X, 1,000x visitors hitting your site because you're doing amazing advertising and everybody's clicking on those links, you want everything to not only load quickly, but you want them to load, right? Getting back to another point that you brought up early on is downtime just crushes your brand, right? There's just nothing worse. Like, oh, I guess they're out of business and I'll just go on to the next next company now. So, a CDN plays a massive role in that. And yes, sure. Like Matt pointed out, you can DIY this. You can set all this stuff up. You can build everything you want. You can go to assembly code, right, and start writing zeros and ones. But using a managed host that's already doing this, has the years of experience of managing these, has seen multiple Black Friday events, and is ready to handle all of this for you is going to be uh, immeasurable, right? You want to be focused on your marketing, you want to be focused on your advertising. You want to be focused on your customer support. You want to be shipping orders. You don't want to be having to worry about all of this technical stuff. It should just work.